This is Alan Moore. He's the creator of such hits such as Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This is DC Comics, the publisher behind not only Watchmen and V for Vendetta, but also Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Now, Alan Moore doesn't like DC, and there's a reason for that. Alan Moore's long-running feud with DC comes down to a lot of things, but it was the handling of the acclaimed Watchmen did Alan Moore decide to swear off DC completely. In fact, it should be a cautionary tale of what happens when a groundbreaking book becomes too successful for an industry to let go. Now, for some context, Moore had a strong relationship with DC in the 1980s. His contribution in reinventing Swamp Thing, writing iconic Batman and Superman stories such as For the Man Who Has Everything and The Killing Joke respectively helped pave the way for more mature comic book readers, but everything shifted after Watchmen came out and became a massive hit. See, when Alan Moore decided to create Watchmen in 1983, his initial plan involved unused DC characters and planned a murder mystery around using the characters like Blue Beetle and The Question, even pitching a proposal called Who Killed the Peacemaker, but then editor Dick Giordano urged him to create new characters instead so DC could preserve the originals for Crisis on Infinite Earths. That very shift led to Watchmen, with Dave Gibbons joining as artist and John Higgins as colorist and Len Wein as editor. While Moore crafted dense, high-detailed scripts and the team built a darker, more complex reinvention of the superhero archetypes inspired partly by parody and deconstruction. And once it became a hit, it permanently stayed in print, preventing the rights from reverting back to Alan Moore as he expected. As Moore's comics gained acclaim, Hollywood repeatedly tried to adapt them, but he resisted, arguing that his works like Watchmen and V for Vendetta were designed to explore what only comics could achieve, not to serve as storyboards for film. Early adaptations like From Hell and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen drifted from his source material, and after legal disputes and public comments from producers that he says misrepresented his stance, Moore demanded that his name be removed from all future adaptations and refuse royalties. Now, that break deepened with projects like Watchmen. Moore later expanded his criticism to modern superhero cinema as a whole, calling it culturally regressive and rooted in nostalgia rather than growth. He has since said that he turned down millions to protect his principles and even requested that future earnings tied to his works be directed to Black Lives Matter rather than himself. As his reputation grew, Hollywood kept circling his work, but he never believed his stories like Watchmen or V for Vendetta again were meant for films because he created them to push the comic medium into places movies simply cannot go. He has always argued that comics allows for a dense visual layering, irony between text and image, and structural experimentation that film flattens, so adaptations like From Hell and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen dramatically altered his stories. For other projects such as V for Vendetta, when producers' comments suggested he supported the adaptation, something he publicly denied, and from that point forward, he cut all ties with foods and lawyer. Tensions only grew over the years with film adaptation, editorial disputes, America's Best Comics, before Watchmen, and eventually Doomsday Clock, pulling characters like Dr. Manhattan into the main DC universe, cementing a decades-long divide rooted in creative control, contractual disagreements, and Moore's unwavering principles about ownership and artistic integrity. So is it really a shock that in an interview, Moore doubled down on walking away from comics for good, a decision he finalized after 2018's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Volume 4, The Tempest? He also made it clear that he views the dominance of superheroes as troubling, arguing that even though his works for DC helped legitimize and mature the medium, he feels no sense of triumph and wants nothing to do with it for what it's become. And although Moore has criticized superhero fiction for years, his latest comments carry a tone that feels more final, like officially cutting all ties with who he was and where he stands now. He's long argued that the genre's focus on triumphant, larger-than-life heroic forces stories into a simplified moral framework where overpowered good defeats evil, limiting nuance and encouraging rigid black-and-white thinking rather than true complexity, especially given the genre's roots in children's entertainment. But what do you think? Is it a bigger argument that needs to be made for the treatment of writers and in some cases artists who shape the imagination of many readers and challenge our thoughts on how superhero stories can be told? I'd be interested to know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'm Anderson, and I'm out.